All right, thank you so much for staying with the Monday Report. As promised, this is where we start the preliminary discussion. Remember, the Day of the African Child will be marked tomorrow, which is the 16th of June. The theme this year is access to child-friendly justice. Remember also, we're dealing with the COVID-19. Let me introduce my panelists real quick. And we have Kate Maina-Voli. She's a country director for Plan International Kenya. She's also a champion for girls' rights. And also we have Honorable Justice Martha Koome, a judge of the Court of Appeal and chair of the National Council of Administration of Justice, a special task force on children matters. If you want to know anything about child justice, this is where you should be. We're also posing some of your questions that have come through at Citizen TV at Trevor Mbija. Use the hashtag Monday Report. And thank you so much for joining me, my panelists, this evening. Let's get started with this conversation. And Kate, I'll start with you. So we know already that Plan International is a global organization that really advances the children's rights and equality for girls. But now this is a whole different topic. So what does Plan International really do to ensure that children have access to justice, especially at this COVID-19 times?
Thank you very much, Trevor. Thank you for having me on the panel. It's a pleasure, as always, to engage with you. And I want to acknowledge the presence of Lady Justice Martha Koome. A lot of respect to you, madam. In terms of what we do to advance children's rights, I think the topic still remains relevant in terms of the issues that girls are facing. As an organization that is really steeped in advancing children's rights, and particularly girls, we do a lot of work in terms of ensuring that children access justice at various levels. At the national level, we are involved with the national government structures such as the National Council for the Administration of Justice and the National Council for Children's Services, NCCS, where we are involved in deliberations on the implementation of the various child rights frameworks for the ultimate enjoyment of children's rights in the country. We also have presence at the county level, and we've done a lot of work in various counties, including Kilifi, Tharaka Nithi, Matu, Homa Bay, where we've worked with the county government to establish child protection units in these program areas that I just mentioned. We've worked with police officials through some of our projects on child rights, increasing the awareness on child rights and child protection, and how to respectfully handle children reporting cases. We've also worked with court user committees in our field offices, through our field offices, and this is with a main aim of establishing a coordinated response to child abuse cases, particularly when it comes to achieving resolution in courts. At the community level, we also do a lot of work. We're working through the community-based child protection mechanisms so that cases are reported, child abuse cases are reported, and that they're responded to. And this we do with a lot of engagement with our child protection volunteers, our children officers, and our county children coordinators. And we also work to encourage families to be able to report child abuse cases, to be able to identify them, report them, and to understand the referral pathways for how these cases might be managed. And this it really includes a lot of actors at the community level, including paralegals, working with lawyers who provide pro bono support to families involved in court cases. I think, Trevor, the point here, it really must be multi-actors, multi-players coming together in a coordinated approach to achieve justice for children.
Absolutely. Some of the players you're talking about, Kate, is the judicial system. And let me bring in Lady Justice Koome on this. Lady Justice, you've been there for a while now. You know how that system really works. What is the composition of the justice system, especially for children? Is it sufficient? Is it child-friendly from where you stand?
Thank you, Trevor, for having me in this panel. And thank you, Kate and Plan International for the great work that you're doing to ensure the support to families, communities, and indeed the government to secure the best interest of the child. Trevor, to achieve justice for children, as Kate has said, is a collaborative effort by many, many actors. No one institution can be able to ensure justice for children, because we need the support from the family that should always protect the children. And there are many, many ways that children interact with the justice system. We have victims of offenses. And, you know, like this particular period of COVID-19, there is a spike in child abuse, and we have witnessed even the worst forms of abuse of children. There are children also in conflict with the law, and they must be processed. There are those children who are in contact with the law because they have been dragged to court one way or the other, either by their parents who have come languishing in court about child support. And there are children who also come to court as witnesses. So what I'm trying to say is that the judiciary alone cannot protect children. We require the collaboration and coordinated approach by all the actors in the administration of justice. And this was recognized by the National Council on the Administration of Justice that is chaired by the Chief Justice. And he put together the Special Task Force on Children Matters, realizing that there are gaps in the administration of justice, that children are falling within the cracks and their human rights are not being protected. And when they get into the system of justice, perhaps they are not getting protected, rehabilitated, and adjusted, but they are becoming worse because of how rough it is. You can imagine a child going through police, going through investigations and writing statements, going through the prosecution, the office of the ODPP, then coming to court, going to the rehabilitation homes, or, you know, just that process alone. You can imagine if anybody goes through that and comes out unscathed, and to become a reporter like you, Trevor, it's a heavy, it's a huge task. I don't think anybody can manage that. So realizing that, we have to work together. The task force is comprised of the members of all the actors in the administration of justice, the office of the ODPP, the Attorney General, the Director of Children's Services, the police, the probation, the Department of Children's Services, and all the other actors, human rights defenders for children like FINDA, CREDO, Group, their members, Law Society of Kenya, the Kenya Human Rights Commission. They are all members because we come together to find out who is doing what, how can we expedite, how can we ensure that the systems respond to the need, the particular need of the child, and how can a child even avoid the formal justice system altogether, because the best place for a child is really not the formal justice system. They can be diverted, they can be, their cases can be dealt with through the community structures, like the Nyumba Kumi, the police, can all work together to have a child placed in a program that can be supervised, they can be counseled, they can be directed. They don't have to come to the formal justice system. That is our hope, and that's what we would call child-friendly access to justice to celebrate the Day of the African Child.
All right, and let me bring in Kate on this. And Kate, we are talking about community structures that can then rectify the children instead of going through the formal system. But now, what happens in communities, particularly where girls are subjected to things like FGM or early childhood marriages, and this is done by their own parents, people who, how then do they get access to justice? Because they have nowhere to run. It's their parents who are supposed to help them out of this, and they are the ones perpetrating those same atrocities on their children.
Yeah, there are a lot of complexities, Trevor, that children face, and particularly the girl child. I think we've also seen with this COVID-19 pandemic, in particular, the atrocities around, you know, that girls and young women and women are facing, you know, sexual gender-based violence. It really is a big concern, and it's really shining a light on these gender inequalities that you and I keep talking about. I think it's important to educate the communities. It's important to, first of all, work with the girls themselves to raise awareness on some of these harmful practices, FGM, child marriage, so that they can protect themselves and so that they are aware that there is more to their life that they should want and demand for themselves. At the community level, we are very engaged in mentorship programs for our girls, where we create awareness on the risks associated with teenage pregnancies, as I said, early child marriage, and we work with them to also provide access to TVET and alternative options. We're also working with reformed female circumcisers, particularly in Kajiado and Tharaka Nithi. Yeah. We've worked with some amazing reformed female circumcisers who are now champions for anti-FGM. But we also recognize that men have to be partners in this equation, both men and boys. So we've done a lot of work in Kajiado with Maasais. We have created awareness around some cultural harmful practices that we take for granted, especially around beading. The minute you bead a girl, it means she is betrothed to be married. Yeah. And there you start a whole cycle of pulling girls out from school. And we all know the transformational impact of keeping girls in school. We've worked with community elders in Meru and Tharaka Nithi. We've worked with Njuri and Jeke. So we also realize, men are the consumers. And so we do need to engage with men so that they understand this plight and, how harmful it is. We've also worked with the Ministry of Education at the county level to create safe spaces so that young people can access services that they need. But it has to be, again, a multifaceted approach, right from the community, linked up to the county level, to ensure that when cases are reported, that they are dealt with and that a responsive, child-friendly judicial system.
Okay. And Justice Kome, now that you're the one in the system for us on this particular one, how long does it take to conclude a case that involves a child, for example? Are they given any sort of priority in the legal system?
Incidentally, under the law, Trevor, the children cases are to be earned expeditiously and within 6 months. That is anchored in the law. And actually, there are two types of cases that are anchored in the law in Kenya with a time frame: the children matters and election petitions. But election petitions are heard according to the time because the politicians are strong and powerful. But children matters sometimes drag beyond the 6 months because of very many factors, but it is clear in the law. The children cases should be heard within 6 months, if it is possible, even within less, because time lost by a child going to court cannot ever be recovered, So we try to expedite and give them priority. We have held service weeks all over the country, and even the Honorable Chief Justice declared the month of November, the 3rd week of November, a month to hear cases for children, so that we clear all cases involving children in every year, and in January they can be able to resume school without having to look back on whether they have a case.
All right. And Kate, I'd like to get practical with you, Kate, because I know you're a champion for girls' rights and you are involved on the ground there. There are some instances where you've seen parents really just trading their children into obscenities, especially mothers who are illegal brewers in villages, in different places. How then do you make sure that that stops as an organization that is championing the rights of the children?
I think it's important to understand the triggers of why families do these things. And I think the underlying trigger to a lot of the challenges we are seeing with children, and particularly with girls, is poverty. Trevor, poverty is an accelerator for injustices for children. In a normal situation, no mother would be selling their child. And so it's important that we address the underlying issues that perpetuate such actions by people who should be carried and protecting for their very own. And so as Plan International, we are working a lot in the community level, to improve livelihoods. We have a lot of resilience building activities. We are establishing and have established hundreds and hundreds of village savings loans, where we encourage caregivers of families who have high vulnerabilities to be able to join this as groups and to be able to save money. And there they're able to borrow with very friendly rates and to be able to cover the cost of caring for children. But I think awareness creation is also important, in terms of the harmful practices of what it means to sell your daughter, So I think it's important that we, again, multifaceted awareness creation, but really practical solutions that improve the livelihoods and address the poverty, the real poverty that a lot of families in Kenya are facing. And so I do want to applaud the government for expanding their social protection program. I think we need to do more, as I said in a different program. We need to ensure that these cash transfers are indeed reaching the most vulnerable, and we need to make sure that they are also gender sensitive.
Yeah, indulge me on that actually, Kate, because that's what I'm wondering. What more would you like to see to ensure that the child justice system is more friendly to children here in Kenya?
Wow, so I was looking at some interesting statistics earlier today, and as I said, a lot of respect to the work that Honorable Justice Martha Koome has done in terms of chairing the special commission that ensures child-friendly judicial system for children in Kenya. But there is a pattern of delays in administering justice for children. Statistics have shown that 80% of children in statutory children's institutions have not committed an offense. 60% of children matters that are handled by the police and the judiciary relate to sexual offenses, with children largely being the victims. 20% of those cases that are handled by police relate to children cases where children are in need of care and protection rather than them having done an offense. And so the system is absorbing all manners of children, because we all know that children can face the justice system for a variety of reasons. Either they've committed an offense, or they're in need of care and protection, they are victims of separation, or they are being caught up in administrative practices around immigration and citizenship. So there are many reasons why a child would have to face off with our judicial system. And I think it's important that we recognize that it's not good to lump all these children into one place. We have seen a lot of delays in administering justice for children. I do recognize what Honorable Justice Martha Koome has said. Indeed, we've seen a lot of improvements emanating from the work that the task force has done, around the National Commission on the Administration of Justice. And a lot has been done. But I think, Madam, you will agree with me that the failure to enact into law the Children's Bill of 2018 is hindering a lot of issues as it relates to justice for children. Mm-hmm. And we can speak a little bit more about that, Trevor, on what it will take to enact that children's bill into law. I should have mentioned that Plan International is part of a coalition of 6 large focused organizations that are child-focused. And this includes Save Our Souls, it includes Child Fund International, it includes Plan International, of course, Save the Children, World Vision, and Terre des Hommes. And we've recently had a lot of engagements with media to shine a light on the injustices of children, and particularly girls, particularly in the COVID season. Yeah. And when we look at the issues that girls are facing during this season, that they have faced pre-COVID, and that they are facing as we continue to strengthen our judicial system, it all boils down to the Children's Bill, which is yet to be enacted into law. And in that bill, it provides so many safeguards that if it was enacted into law, would really set the stage for real child-friendly judicial systems. And I'm sure Honorable Justice Martha Koome, you will agree with me. Yes. It is a major bottleneck.
Yes, Honorable Justice Koome, you can comment on that as well, and just tell us, what then are you doing to ensure that somehow there's reprieve for the children? Because we are where we are right now. The Children's Bill is still hanging in the balance. But as it stands, the statistics that are being given by Kate are extremely worrying.
Yes, it is true indeed, Trevor, that everybody has been waiting for the Children's Bill. It was 2018, now it is 2020. We are hoping that it is not going to be another year of waiting because it has, like what we are talking about, diversion is not provided for in the Children Act. And if it is, which is now provided in the bill, and if that system of justice is anchored in the law, it will establish clear structures that will net out those number of children who are now lumped together in the justice system, who could be diverted to many, many other institutions for their care and upholding of their best interests. Yeah. So that is one thing we are waiting for from the government. I think the bill is ready.
Yeah.
It has gone through the Attorney General's office and it has been drafted into a bill. The last time I checked, I was told it is waiting for a cabinet memo.
Yeah.
It is with the Minister for Labor and Social Protection, who is in charge of children matters. But before it becomes law, I want to emphasize, Trevor, that the children's rights, fundamental rights of children, are anchored in the Constitution. And we also have the Children Act that domesticates the United Nations Charter and the African Charter. So what we really require is various institutions understanding their mandate clearly and developing small operational procedures like they have done now with the COVID-19 that help them always monitor the children who are in their systems to ensure that they are processed expeditiously, their human rights are protected, and above all, they are reunited with their families and they can be able to go to school so that they can realize their potential.
All right. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, I'll be posing your questions through my panelists tonight. There's a lot of them coming through. We have about 15 or 10 minutes. We'll try and squeeze as many of them as possible. Let's take that quick break on Monday Report. Keep your views coming. Use the hashtag Monday Report. See you shortly. All right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report. We're talking about access to child-friendly justice. Just a few hours to the Day of the African Child, which is tomorrow, the 16th of June. I still have Kate Maina-Vol is with me. She's the Country Director for Plan International Kenya and also a champion of girls' rights. Honorable Justice Martha Koome is also with me, Judge of the Court of Appeal and Chair of the National Council of Administration of Justice, a special task force on children. There's a lot of questions coming from you. Let's pose some of them to my panelists this evening.
Given the current conflict between the judiciary and the executive, owing to the president's refusal to swear in 41 judges, how does this affect children's access to justice, owing to the backlog that is in the judiciary?
Okay.
Justice Koome? Yes.
Children cases are not tried in the High Court. They are tried by the Magistrates Court. So they only come to the High Court on appeal. So the primary court is the Magistrates Court. And as you know, we have over 130 court stations for magistrates. So children are able to access justice from those stations.
All right.
Which are spread all over the country.
Yeah.
And one day is set aside for children matters, at least even court stations where we have only one magistrate sitting. One day is set aside for children matters. Where the station is big, we have a full-fledged court, magistrate hearing children matters only.
All right. Let's bring up another question.
Comes to children, they are abused, and the people who are actually abusing them are free. So what is the justice system doing to ensure these people are arrested and arraigned in court and the children actually get justice?
All right. Kate, you can come in on this one as well, because I know you deal with them on almost first-hand basis.
Yes, we do. Yes. You know, one of the things that we always talk about within Plan International is the risk of a country becoming numb, emotionally numb, because we see cases of gender-based violence and abuse being rampant every day, being reported in the media, and we run the danger of being numb as a country. So I appreciate the question. We must continue to be angry about the number of sexual-based violence that our children and particularly girls are facing. It really does require all hands on deck. And as I said earlier, it has to be a multifaceted approach. We require both state and non-state actors to work together. We must look at the recommendations that were made by the task force that was chaired by Honorable Justice Martha Koome, and we must move the recommendations forward. And there were very specific recommendations that were put forward there, most of which have been moved forward. There were low-hanging fruits that the task force moved forward, and I really want to applaud the government for that. But I cannot belabor the need to have, on behalf of the Joining Forces Alliance and the civil society of Kenya, to having the Children's Bill enacted in law. The current bill, as it was enacted, predated the Constitution of 2010.
Okay.
And so we need to accelerate the Children's Bill, because in that bill, you will be able to really address age of criminal responsibility. We'll be able to address how we deal with children who are in conflict with the law. We'll be able to ensure that all actors are coordinated in their response to addressing the crimes that are being meted out against the girls.
All right, let's bring up another question.
In conflict with the law, do they get a fair opportunity to be heard? Does the state provide legal representation to those who cannot actually afford? And what is the process of ensuring that they understand the nature of the proceedings and the disposition of their cases, that they don't take to the stand and plead guilty under pressure to a crime that they could actually be innocent?
Oh, wow, that's a very good question. Lady Justice?
Yes, the Children Act, Trevor, provides for legal aid for children. And there is good coordination even by the lawyers themselves, the Law Society, like the Rift Valley Law Society, as a child justice program. The National Legal Aid Commission, which was recently established, also provides legal aid. And it is the duty of every magistrate to appoint a lawyer for a child. The child who appears in court must be represented by a lawyer. There is also ingrained in our law child participation, so that anybody making a decision about a child should always allow the child to speak. So the child will say what they have to say. If they are pre-bargaining, it's a proper pre-bargaining. It's not entering plea of guilty because they have been pushed to do that. It's a pre-bargaining which is allowed by the law. And a protection and care file is opened so that an agreement is entered how the child will be rehabilitated and connected back to the community.
All right, let's bring up another question.
The law on custody has not changed, and families that are operating under custody order is still obligated to do so, especially the law on co-parenting. So, in bid to protect paramountcy principle, how are the courts going to react to cases where, for example, one parent has been confirmed to be positive, or one parent is floating the measures against COVID-19, or perhaps one parent is suspected to be coming from areas that are confirmed to be having positive cases?
All right, that's an interesting question. I don't know whether Kate would like to take on that, or Lady Justice.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I got the question though, Trevor.
The question is really about what the judicial system would do when one parent is coming from a place that has COVID-19 and probably one other parent also, an adopted parent. That is the right connotation to it. If the parent adopted the child, basically, and they're not the biological parents, maybe.
This is a case about COVID.
Yes.
Those are taken as children in need of care and protection. And they are put through social services so that a report is done about their circumstances. And if possible, to the best possible solution is found by having that child placed maybe with a relative or a guardian until the parent is okay to resume parental responsibility over the child. That is what happens. We call them guardian ad litem. A guardian is found who is willing to take the child, and if no guardian is coming forth, let's say a member of the family or a friend, the child can be put in the child charitable institution for the duration of time that the parents are encountering problems.
All right. I believe we have time to squeeze in just one more question.
And I wanted to ask about mechanism that can be used by parents to report sexual offenses, especially against children during this time they are at home. Because recently there have been news about children being sexually abused because they are at home and they are at very high risk.
Kate, this is directly to you because I know you also deal with the parents down there. How do you ensure that the children are heard? Because some of them may speak, but the parents tend to just ignore what they're saying.
Yeah, that is true. We've done a lot of interventions in schools to create safe spaces in schools. And we've worked with the Teacher Service Commission to put together the Beacon Teachers Movement, which is a curriculum that we developed as Plan International in collaboration with the Teacher Service Commission that trains a cadre of teachers who are working in schools to be able to identify cases of violation, cases of absenteeism, and to be able to report them. So that's one of the things we do in collaboration with the Teacher Service Commission, really raising awareness in schools where children spend a lot of their time. At the same time, we're working in the community to raise awareness on the Childline numbers. Yeah. We have the GBV hotline number. We also have the Childline Kenya hotline number 116, so that children are able to report these cases up. I mean, awareness creation is very important. I think we also do, it's also important to acknowledge that it is important to work through the Nyuma Kumi platforms to ensure that they are also part of the response plan. And parents are able to detect signs of abuse and know how to report as well.
So, Kate, tomorrow marks the Day of the African Child, and access to child-friendly justice is the theme. What will you be championing on this day that we're marking as your final word?
You know, we must remember how this day came to be. Over 10,000 children in South Africa marched in Soweto to oppose a regime and an education system that was treating them unequally because of the color of their skin. 10,000 children marched in South Africa, and there was a wave of protest, and hundreds of children died because they dared to raise their voice against a regime that was denying them their rights. In 2020, when we are calling for child-friendly justice system for our children, it is important that as Plan International, with our members under the Joint Forces Alliance that I mentioned, we are being very unapologetic about asking the government to enact the Children's Bill.
All right.
In that Children's Bill, as it relates to justice, the bill makes legal representation for children a mandatory requirement. As it is the question on legal representation that was posed, at the moment, the way it is worded, it is not mandatory. It is worded the court may provide legal representation. In the draft children bill, it makes mandatory legal representation for children. It also addresses the age of criminal responsibility. At the moment, the age is 8 years. Basically, the penal code places the age of criminal responsibility at 8 years. The new draft children's bill, if enacted, will raise the age of criminal responsibility to 12. The international standard is 18 years. So we will be championing the enactment of the Children's Bill into law to even allow for the funding that needs to come in through the next budget cycle so that all the issues and the challenges that Honorable Justice Martha Koome saw as she chaired that task force can be addressed and the bottlenecks can be tackled one after the other at all levels.
All right.
So the enactment of the Children's Bill.
Yeah. Lady Justice Koome, what will be your rallying call tomorrow, very briefly?
Yes, I'm also celebrating the strength, the courage, and the duty of the children, the call to duty by the children to the society, remembering those children in South Africa who sacrificed their lives for the fight for democracy in their country. In Kenya, we are calling for child protection. We are calling for budgetary allocation to ensure that all these institutions that are charged with the responsibility of protecting children are allocated with budget. We are saying children are the greatest stakeholders that we have, the greatest asset that secures our future, the bridge to the future. So it's the responsibility of everybody to protect and promote the rights of children. we are saying the children who are being abused, especially this particular time of COVID-19, is happening at home. Children are at home, so who is abusing them? And we need to call them out and have them, reported to the police.
Yeah.
Those are the cases that are being given priority in court, even if they are scaled down processes in court.
Yeah.
Cases involving children have always earned the priority.
Okay.
In the courts. So no one should withhold information about a child victim.
All right. Thank you so much for making time for me this evening. Kate Maina-Voli, Country Director for Plan International Kenya and also a champion for girls' rights. Honorable Justice Martha Koome, Judge of the Court of Appeal and Chair of the National Council of Administration of Justice Special Task Force on Children on this evening just before the Day of the African Child. The theme tomorrow is access to child-friendly justice. That's the theme for this year. My name is Trevor Mbija. That's all the time we had. It's an absolute honor being around you and also for you joining us on the Monday Report. Let's do this again next week. Good night for now.